Welcome everyone to the debate. We'll go ahead and begin. So, welcome everyone to the January 2022 Site Director Debates. Our two candidates are Manson, running with his Deputy Director Muscleman, and JoshJOkayGuy, running without a Site Director this term. Alright, so we'll be starting with introductions from Manson. If you'd like to introduce yourself, give us a brief description of yourself, and so forth.
All right. Well, hello there. My name is Manson. I am currently a lieutenant and the head DI in security at this time. I've been here for approximately 3 months. I am known as overall a reasonable, level-headed individual who is able to make decisive choices on things, make documents, improve things in the department, and overall be a role model to several individuals in and outside of security.
All right. We'll move on to Josh then. Would you like to give us a brief introduction of yourself and tell us who you are?
Truthfully, I don't believe an introduction is necessary. Most of the community knows who I am. However, my name is JoshJOkayGuy. I've been here since June of 2018. I was the research supervisor back in V2, director of research last year, site director this year, director of internal affairs this year, current security captain, and current CI Alpha. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to how this night is going to go.
All right. So we're going to start with the first question here. I'll repeat the rules. I don't think I have to, but I'll go ahead and do it. You'll have 2 minutes for each question. After 2 minutes, I'll cut you off, and we'll move on to the next candidate. There'll be no introduction during the questioning phase. Then you will have a 2-minute debate where both parties can speak, and you guys can debate. All right, we'll be starting with Manson. So Manson, what is your first order of business once you take over the position of site director?
I think one of the first orders of business I want to do when we take over as site director is go back over the plans of action that we've set with the respective HOS. We reached out to each and every HOS to get their opinions on their departments, their wants, their needs, the things that they feel that they need so that we can make plans of action that can reinforce them. Some of the things that we want to look at is looking into IA's command situation to make sure that they have proper command who are able to enforce proper enforcement of the penal code so that people don't feel like IA is abusing things. Helping reinforce mobile task force surface events, maintaining their current operations as the department is doing wonderful. Going through security's command to support the GenSec command as they go through organizational changes and oversee how those new policies work to help people grow confidence in their command and their command structure, as well as helping research and development get new command as well. We also have implemented proper site policies that we want to see amended to the Site 09 Constitution, which we believe is a proper document. The whole motto that we have is leadership, organization, communication, and teamwork. And the whole point of that is working together with the HOS and their command teams to make proper decisions. That way we can improve activity by improving job satisfaction and improving people's enjoyment on the site.
All right. Moving on to Josh. What is your first order of business once you take over the position of site director?
Realistically, my first order of business is small and insignificant, so I'll talk briefly on it, and then I'll talk about the second major plan I have. The very first thing I plan on doing is putting a place where all current and past executive orders are clearly available for everybody to see. My second order of business is to spend 1 day with each division, focusing on any problems they have, observing how they're acting on site, observing how they're functioning, their performance, their activity, etc. And I'm going to determine whether or not there are problems that need to be solved and what those problems may be. Once that is done, I will be communicating with the COs and division leaders of the respective divisions and attempting to formulate solutions to these problems that will last in the long term, long past my term is over.
All right. We'll move on to a 2-minute debate then. You can point out the flaws in your opponent's question. answer.
All right.
You have 2 minutes starting now, if either one wants to speak.
The flaws in my opponent himself or the answer he
His
just
answer.
gave? Okay.
And his answer. If you have any issues with it. If not, we can move on to the next question. Both parties content with their opponent's answers?
Okay. Well, I guess one of the biggest things that I have an issue with is in your own doctrine and in your specific words, you say that it's probably too short. You say that explicitly you can't make informed decisions before you step in, or before you make informed decisions, before you step into the position. But that logically doesn't make sense because you could have put your foot forward to take the initiative to ask questions about what's going on in the departments, to have an informed plan of action before you even take step into the site director position. Not to mention, I feel that one day is way, way too short. We spent several days asking those questions and formulating our plan of action. One day is not enough time, especially on your own, to formulate a proper response to help the respective departments on site.
To a person with no experience, most certainly, one day is not enough. But as somebody who's been in the position before and knows how to formulate those solutions as well as work with these departments, somebody who's familiar with all the people in the heads of staff positions, and somebody who is liked by all those people, I find it quite easy to find solutions to problems of divisions, as I did when I was the site director before. Now, it will not immediately be a fix. Anything that I do won't immediately fix things in the long term, especially if it's only for a day. And that's what the rest of my term is for, to formulate these long-term plans while the temporary fixes are put in place.
We'll move on to the next question. If you had to starting with Manson, if you had to drop one of your objectives as site director, what would it be?
I think one of the objectives that I have that I would drop as a site director might have to do specifically with TCU, specifically trying to get more realistic sims. So I know for a fact that TCU wants to have more realistic sims that are more involved with the HCZ specifically. But I know that after talking extensively with with extensively over certain points, that they're not going to be able to get that without using GMs. It's not allowed. So maybe instead going for having more realistic sims outside of the HCZ. That way they have a better idea of how to navigate their zone.
All right. Moving on to Josh. If you had to drop one of your objectives as site director, what would it be?
Well, my doctrine is very clearly focused on observing and leading through observation rather than anything that I've seen or had done to me prior to my term. However, I can obviously use those observations to make informed decisions. I would most likely drop the plan to place executive orders in a unified place. I believe that everything in my document is necessary and useful. However, that is the least useful out of all the things in there.
All right. We'll move on to a 2-minute debate. If either of you want to make comments on the other's answer, you may now.
As far as it goes with drop it with making the various executive orders, why exactly do you feel that that's the least important? Because you said that you plan to put executive orders in a respective place. Is that because those orders are not useful? Because it's very vague about what executive orders you want to put.
All of them. All of them should be publicly accessible. Any future executive orders, any current executive orders, of which there are none as far as I'm aware, and an archived list of all the past executive orders. Now, it is, of course, important to have this clarity in the event that a division like IA would need to enforce one of these things. However, if I had to drop one of the things in my document, that would be it, because I believe that it is the least important out of everything.
I really don't understand. It may be the least necessarily the least important, but it definitely is probably the most attainable thing. Not that there's a lot to begin with in the first place. So I really confuses me that that would be the least important thing.
Well, the most important thing is certainly observation, and I'm not dropping that because I led through observation during my term as site director and it was wildly successful. And I will not stop doing that because I believe that leading through observation in a position in which you can see everything that happens and make very informed decisions is the best way to do things. Therefore, that is not what I will be dropping. As for activity, that's incredibly important to keep the server alive and running. It's not only my job as the server director, but it would also be my job as the site director, and it's also my job as the security captain to make people want to get online.
Your time is now up. All right, starting with Manson on the third question. What do you feel is your best trait?
I think that one of my best traits is that I'm reasonable and level-headed. So I don't think I can go to anybody and really tell them and say that I'm someone who messes around, I'm someone who makes bullshit decisions, that I'm someone who is not capable of getting all the answers that I need to a problem and making a proper decision based on all of the options that I get. I do not immediately jump without waiting and seeing what's going on so that I can make a proper decision for everybody who's involved in the situation.
All
I'm
right.
sorry, I was speaking to somebody. Can you repeat that question, please?
Yeah. Well, Manson already answered it. We're moving on to you.
I heard his response. I'm just not certain what the question itself was.
What do you feel is your best trait?
My best trait currently?
Yes.
Well, when I'm given an objective, I will stop at nothing to complete it. If it's to make the server more serious, I will do what is necessary to make it serious. If there's no activity, I will find the necessary solution to bring back activity. And I think that's my best trait. Because I don't give up. When I start something, I'm finishing it.
All right. We'll have 2-minute debate if either of you would like to make any comments.
Well, I guess one of the big things that I want to say about that, if your biggest strength is that that you will get something done, why did you not take the time to reach out to the respective HOS prior to stepping in the SD position? Is that not important to work with those people ahead of time?
It most certainly is. However, I find it easier to be able to get a perspective from within the division, and that's easiest to do as site director, not from something that you've been told by a head of staff, as they might not always have every single detail that's going on in their division, or they might have the keen eye that one might have as site director. Now, obviously, there are some who may, and that's fine. However, putting something into words and regurgitating it back at somebody else is much more difficult to formulate plans for and solutions for the problems that they give you without seeing it firsthand.
Well, that doesn't matter. I mean, if you want to make proper decisions about a department, it's better to have a plan of action ahead of time. You can be informed about things, and then when you get into the SD position, then you can make certain little changes as you start seeing and understanding things. Not taking the first step to see how the HOS and their command want to do things means that it doesn't feel like you really want to get that position and that you're not really willing to work with the other people.
Well, knowing the HOS, I'm aware of how they want to do things. I've known all these people for quite some time, and I'm aware of how they like to do things, and if I'm not, I'll communicate that with them. This is not an issue for me.
Well, it seems to be an issue because you didn't take the time to reach out ahead of time.
If it were an issue, I wouldn't be here.
Well, you clearly decided not to do it, so I don't know how you're going to get your objectives done if you decided
time
not
is
to do
up.
it for it.
Move on to the next question. Manson, starting with you, what do you feel is your worst trait?
Okay. So, one of the things I will definitely say is that, unfortunately, due to the experience here, I have less experience on this site at this time. I've been here for about 3 months. My opponent's been here for what, several months at this point. So I clearly don't have as much experience on the site at this time, unfortunately. However, I am able to learn pretty quickly from the stuff that's going on. As I said, I've already reached out to everybody and like gotten plans of action set before I even take the first step into it. That allows me to have a better point of view on things before I step in, a non-biased one, so that I can understand things a little bit more. This way, I can gain that experience very quickly. I know where I want to go right away. And because of that, despite not being as experienced on this specific site, I feel that I will still be successful.
All right. Moving on to Josh. What do you feel is your worst trait?
At the moment, I think it's the fact that there are times in which I can get a little hot-headed and end up in heated debates. However, usually I find myself and I'm able to uh, stop this debate and be the bigger man despite being the one starting it usually. Now, while this may happen sometimes, I usually have a pretty level head, and lashing out is not something that occurs often and only in scenarios where it's high tension.
All right. We'll move on to a 2-minute debate. If you have any comments you'd like to mention, go ahead now.
Okay. Do you feel that potentially lashing out at times might be a bit dangerous when you're in the SD position?
Not at all. The reason I mentioned that was because in my position as security captain, there was an effort to make the server a lot more serious, and I believe that in being stricter, I succeeded in this. However, uh, it went a little too far with yelling at times. However, this is a diplomatic position. I have no need to yell. I have no need to get into heated debates. The only reason that I had done that was because I was in that position and I was attempting to be strict. Still am.
All right. I don't have anything further.
All right. Then we'll move on to the next question. So this question is slightly altered for Josh since he's not running with a deputy director. But we'll start with Manson. What made you choose your site deputy director?
Me and Muscle Man actually tried to run during the last season, but we didn't get the nomination, and then come to the surprise that we managed to get the nomination this time. And I feel it's because me and him see eye to eye. We talked about the various issues that we went over in our own doctrine and our own plans, and I feel that we will be able to work together very well. We understand what each other wants, we're on the same page about things, and we feel like we'll be able to split the task up respectfully and handle the site a lot better than if we were just alone.
All right. Moving on to Josh. Josh, what made you decide to run without a site deputy director?
Well, quite frankly, I figured that at the time it would make me seem as a more strong and independent leader. However, I came to my senses and realized that that probably was not the best decision, considering the fact that there would be times where I may not be available and I would need somebody at my side helping me to run the site. Therefore, for that reason, I have chosen its site deputy director and I will be announcing him right this very moment. It is SMT Forgotten.
All right. Would you like me to pull him up on the stage?
He's already been invited.
Awesome. All right. Welcome to the stage, Forgotten. Nice to meet you. We'll move on to a 2-minute debate if Josh has no further comments. Okay, 2-minute debate starting now.
So your site deputy director is not necessarily known, and I don't mean this to be a bash at him or his character, but he's not necessarily known for being one of the most serious individuals. Now, while he might be able to get things done, I personally, and I think some other individuals, may not see him as the best fit for the position simply due to how he acts at times.
I do understand that some people may not necessarily have the same view on Muscle Man. However, we've talked extensively. I believe that while we are in the position, we will be able to work a lot more. We'll be able to work a lot better. We've talked about things. We've made expectations and things we need to do and responsibilities that we need to meet. And I understand that maybe during that time, people feel that he wasn't going to be the best person in the world. But right now, we're going to be making a proper commitment to the role. That way, we're the active site directors. We're doing the things we're supposed to be doing.
Okay, that's understandable. I believe the Muscle Man does a fantastic job in his position in security at the moment. I trust that he'll be fine, SDD. I have no further comments to make about your SDD.
All right. I don't have any comments on your SDD at this moment.
All right. Then we'll move on to the next question. All right, starting with Manson. In both of your documents, well, actually, the question is going out to both of you. In both your documents, you mentioned the issue of activity. What plans do you have right now, if any, on possible changes to one or more divisions in order to increase activity? Starting with Manson.
All right. So, when it comes to several of the divisions, we want to make sure that their divisions are going through daily tasks, not necessarily large by daily events that might not necessarily be attainable, but little things that they can do throughout. For example, GenSec is going through a lot of organizational changes in its command, helping them codify their new policies and laws, seeing if their security officers are actually keeping up with scheduling things for their security officers, and making sure they're keeping up on their respective duties and keeping everybody organized allows them to retain confidence and improve job satisfaction. In addition, for research and development, they're having some issues with their command right now. Getting some proper command in there to assist the DOR and getting them potentially a research coordinator will assist them in properly organizing research tests, as well as helping train command so that they know what to do to properly get their researchers involved in tests, do little fun things with them. I know that they're having a lot of success with group projects, so we want to keep and enforce and maintain those. Internal affairs, there's a lot of issues going on in command at that moment. We want to make sure that they're running smoothly with communication, teamwork, activity, and discipline, making sure that all of command is on the same step, on the same page, giving them standards and make sure they understand how their IA agents are supposed to act on site and how they respond to certain situations, so they're not overstepping their boundaries and making people feel like they're being abused, making IA a more respected department on the site. Mobile Task Force continuing surface operations, allowing them to patrol and survey the surface so that they can catch CI in the act of things. And for Tactical Containment Unit, potentially giving them more responsibilities. I know that TCU wants to do a little bit more, because if there's not anything to maintain or there's not anything to sim right now, they don't really have a lot to do. So maybe giving them the ability to escort researchers into the HCZ, for example.
All right, moving on to Josh. What plans do you have right now, if any, on possible changes to one or more divisions in order to increase activity?
As I've stated in my document, this is the main problem I'll be focusing on. And I believe that while most divisions are in a fairly good state, IA, for example, has been relatively active. I'm seeing 2, usually 3 agents flagged up at a time, which is satisfactory at this moment. And it's not always the same people. As for research, they need the necessary command structure to encourage testing when it is not being encouraged enough. For everybody else, that's where the activity issues come from. All other divisions that were not mentioned just now, they need sims. They need larger scale, bi-daily events, and the NCOs need to be encouraging activity and structuring these events to actually be executed and be enjoyable. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter what these events are, as long as they're enjoyable and most of the enlisted that attend actually learn something and want to show up. Now, every NCO in those divisions will be monitored closely, and when in that position, I will ensure to the absolute best of my ability, I'm reading this from my document, that they're meticulously ensuring the division is up to par and that activity begins to rise. NCOs should be putting in the effort, COs should be putting in the effort, and the HOS should be putting in the effort to encourage activity in fun and interesting ways. People will get on the server to have fun. We got to let them have fun.
All right. We'll move on to a 2-minute debate if you have any comments on each other's answers.
Okay.
If not, we'll move on.
I'm certainly a
Alright.
fan of the fact that you suggested TCU should escort research. I like that idea. And I just want to give you some praise for that.
Yes, when we talked with them, they found out they don't have as much to do, so we wanted to find unique ways for, well, maybe not necessarily unique, but giving them little things that they can do to improve activity by giving them a little bit more responsibilities to help. For example, I know security wants to have specialists be mentored by TCU and the HCZ so that they learn the HCZ. That allows TCU to act as role models a bit more. And in addition to that, like I said, doing the research and then also discussing with the TCU individuals themselves to see what other activities they can engage in without necessarily encroaching on other departments' duties, because every single department has their responsibilities. We don't want to encroach on everybody's their responsibilities. So
All right. We'll move on to the next question then. Okay. After this election, you'll have 1 month to make changes. Do you feel this is enough time to implement everything you want to? Starting with Manson.
I think that a lot of the things that we've put into our doctrine, which are often pretty specific to the departments and to the site as a whole, are things that we can potentially get within the month. Like I said, we've talked with each and every HOS about the respective things that we can do, and a lot of these policies are things that we could see getting implemented within a few weeks. I know GenSec in specific, 3 weeks, which having a specific time frame is very nice, so that people know when to expect those changes to finally be done. For some others, maybe like looking through new command, that might take a little bit longer. Like for example, for looking at TCU and looking at increased activities, that requires us to not only talk to TCU about their department, but also talk to the other departments to see if they're okay with TCU doing a little bit more. That might take a little bit. Um, I can't necessarily say that I'll get it done within a day or two, because that's not reasonable at all for a wide sweeping changes that you need to talk to everybody about. But I can definitely give specific time frames after we've said, okay, we can maybe get this done within a week or two, and give people a reasonable amount of time to properly implement those changes as we work with the HOS and their command.
My mic wasn't working for a second there.
Oh.
All right, so we'll move on to Josh. After this election, you'll have 1 month to make changes. Do you feel this is enough time to implement everything you want to?
Well, if you're aware of the solution that you're trying to execute, it's very easy to get things done in only a matter of days, even larger scale things, because if you have the time, you can do it. Now, of course, my main goal is to observe, and if the problems that I've observed and haven't fixed, like, for example, activity or some other ongoing issue within a different department, if it is not fixed by the end of my term, I will run again, I will win again, and I will fix it. And that is all I have to say about that.
All right. Move on to a 2-minute debate. Anyone like make comments on each other's answers? Okay, we'll move on to the next question. The audience, as at this point, since we're on the last question, I would recommend submitting any player questions you have, DMing them to me now. All right, starting with Manson. What do you think the most difficult change you will have to implement is going to be?
The most difficult change. I think the most difficult change that we're probably going to have to implement is probably going to have to revolve around internal affairs. Um, that's not an easy change to necessarily make. We need to. They lost their director. They have a new deputy commissioner. They're looking at trying to get new command in, but are not necessarily sure that they're going to be successful without removing a few individuals and being ready to replace those individuals when they're ready. And that can be difficult because we need to be able to help guide them to a proper command point where the department is, like I said, respected and people aren't power tripping with the ability to arrest somebody for standing off to the side of a combat area, which is a complaint that I heard at some point. By guiding them properly, and that can take a little while, unfortunately, because you can't just purge everybody if they're not doing. You can't just purge a bunch of people if they're not doing something. You have to have people ready to take those positions, and that can take a little bit. So I think being a little bit more reasonable with the time frame of how we're helping guide IA and helping work with their HOS and their command to get to a proper point where they are a stable division that is respected on site and not looked at as the power trip abusing individuals for intelligence enforcement is important.
All right. Josh, what do you think the most difficult change you'll have to implement is going to be?
Well, historically, the most difficult thing to fix in this server has always been uh, dramatically lowered player counts. And while they have been increasing lately, we actually hit 60 players just the other night. Um, Increasing activity and maintaining it with stability is a very difficult task. However, if you find a way to do it and you do it right, it is it can be very successful and last long term.
Gotcha. All right. Moving on to a 2-minute debate. This will be the final debate. And then we'll move on to player questions.
For me,
Oh, go ahead.
I think the command structure of IA, although they do need a new commissioner, as I've seen it, Tony has been working with the site administration, the current one, to allow for a peaceful and uh, eventful resignation where he doesn't just leave and have the division scrambling. He's ensuring the proper replacements are put in and that the people that need to be in a certain place are in that place. Now, nobody really. Okay, I am commonly alongside the members of internal affairs, and I have heard of perhaps 2 or 3 instances of power tripping, uh, at least one of which has resulted in a member being removed for it, which obviously is good. Uh, Removing members for power tripping is very clearly the right move to make. However, um, I am not seeing this as an issue at this time. And if it is happening, it is to be observed and stopped. If
How
IA needs to be disciplined, uh, whether it be through PT or speaking with them or demoting some people, then so be it.
I so how would you know that if you didn't talk to them though?
How would I know it? Because I do talk to them and I'm with them every single day
So
because
if
I see them every single day being active.
so you can make an informed decision by talking to them, correct?
You can make an informed decision to some degree. I cannot say for certain that there is no power tripping that goes on inside of IA. You cannot say for
Good one,
certain.
dude. Good
Time is
one.
up.
Good one, dude.
How the fuck did Me-Man get up here?
I assume that was you. I didn't add him.
No. Think I'd ever let him up on the stage?
I don't think anyone else. Well, I guess chains are up top of that boat. Well, we'll move past it. Time is up. Anyway, we'll move on to player questions, starting with Manson. Okay. Given that you become site director, would you step down from your command positions to better focus on the site as a whole?
Actually, I would. Um, being part of security command and then also trying to do the site director duties is something that is going to be very difficult. You need to be working with the HOS and the other command. And while it is great that you would be cool to hold your current position, it'd be better if I was able to just focus on being the site director for everybody. That means I'm able to put my full effort into the job that I really want to do for the whole site and help everyone as a result instead of just doing site director and half security and then not doing as well at the site director duties.
All right. Moving on to Josh.
I absolutely agree. If it is difficult for an individual to maintain multiple positions, even outside of having the position of site director, they really should step down and focus on that. I've maintained multiple positions in the past, and it hasn't been an issue. However, as I see it, it may be necessary to step down from at least one of my positions, and I will do so if I find it necessary.
All right. We only have one other player question, so if I don't receive any more, we'll go ahead and end after this one. This question is for Josh. Your site deputy director is quite a controversial pick. How do you intend to reassure people? Thoughts I've forgotten.
Uh, is it possible that we get some clarification on why exactly is controversial?
If you would.
I'm not certain where that question is coming from.
Until they actually proposed a second question. Oh, he pinged you about it.
He's a CI main.
I think that's out of character. So
It doesn't matter. He said he wants to leave CI, and he said that in the past. This doesn't matter. I don't think he's controversial, and if he is, I can reassure anybody who thinks that he is an incredibly good pick. He has led the Chaos Insurgency before, and he's the current vice commander. He does an incredibly good job at leading it, and I see no reason why he would be a bad pick for this position, considering the fact that he's capable of making the necessary decisions.
all right. That is all the player questions. I guess we'll go ahead and end the psych director debates here. I'm going to go ahead and give each party a moment to make closing statements, starting with Manson.
All right. So, as I've said multiple times, the biggest thing that I want to undo is work with the HOS through leadership, organization, communication, and teamwork. I think I've proven very much so that that me and my partner will be great candidates as we've already put our foot forward and taken the initiative to ask people about their departments, learn about them to get an informed decision and make plans of action that are specific to each department before we've even taken that first step into the position. And yes, it is true that maybe when you get into the position, you'll see things that you weren't able to see before, but that's okay. You need to be flexible. And by taking the step to prove that we've already gotten in contact with people to get and make informed plans of action, we've proven that we are willing to work with the HOS on their departments to not only improve activity, not just by hosting a lot of events, by making specific changes to each department that is unique to each department that increases job satisfaction and contentment in their department, thereby raising the respect, raising their activity, and overall giving them more confidence in the activities in the department.
All right. Moving on to Josh. Go ahead and make your closing statement.
As of late, we've been in times of dire need. Need of players, need of quality RP, need of people who can properly do their jobs to encourage these sorts of things. And it is necessary right now to ensure that somebody is voted into this position that has the proper experience, that has done this thing before, to get us out of this period. Then, and only then, would it be a suitable solution to start bringing the newer players into the position. I think Manson is a fantastic candidate, but he simply lacks the experience right now to take us out of these dire times. And with that, I'm going to start inviting random people to the stage.
All right.
All right, guys, listen up. I think we need Warden back. He was an excellent dictator that we need. Like, once again, he had an iron fist. Fuck you guys. Bring
Oh, you
back
mean the same
Warden.
guy that called the MTF Nazis?
Yeah,
Hello, yes.
I
that
like
guy?
that guy. Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
I
we
like
should,
that guy.
Yeah, I like
That
that
was a
guy.
good statement. That was a
I
good
think,
statement.
I like that guy.
Good
Yeah, I mean,
statement.
he was
I
okay,
agreed
dude.
with the fact. I agree with that.
He was all
I
right.
agreed.
I think
Especially because I
Obama,
was part of the personal death squad for that.
It was
that,
funny, dude.
That administration,
maintenance
which
is
was pretty good.
I think you should buff
It's pretty fun.
maintenance to be able to power trip and completely control the site, and I think you should buff maintenance and yeah, I think you should really buff maintenance. I think
just- why don't we get him
trying
up
to get
there?
a better shotgun or something.
like, you think you
Hey,
should
guys,
bring back the
serious
KSG
question.
and give it exclusively to maintenance? I think that would
Josh,
be a pretty good idea.
if you win, I think your first act should be to remove Freeman.
What position do you
Whoa.
hold?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Hey, Josh, I have an actual serious question for you.
Sure.
It's about something you said in the final statement. It's some
Hold on.
to get out of these dire times. But Manson doesn't have that experience. Why not give him the chance to have that
Shut the
experience?
fuck up.
We need
Oh my
a
god.
strong leader from Austria with
Thank
a
you.
tiny mustache.
Let's go, dude.
That is suspicious.
We
Wait a
need
minute.
the man of the
Yeah, when is
hour.
Chen gonna
I mean,
become site
honestly, to
director?
answer your
When Chen's first
question-
site director.
Because I already
Oh, wait, I
did.
shouldn't say that.
What's up, Crunch?
It's times of great need where you need people with
Hello,
the
bozo.
experience,
I
Like
have to
Joe
retext
Stalin.
the message.
Joseph Stalin.
which
did
I
it.
have.
We need Mao Zedong. Install communism on the site. Bring
Yes,
back
dude.
Mao.
We
The
need
great
it.
leap forward. You will all perish in the famine, but it is you will sacrifice yourself for the greater good, making
We
pig
gotta
iron in your
make there be
backyard.
3 site directors: Hitler, Stalin, and Mao Zedong, and they'll we'll watch the Civil War start. It'll be a great show.
Okay, but when are we PKing all of IA? When does that come in?
I love.
When are
That's
we
the first
removing
order of
people under
business.
12 from IA? Because I think that's like at least 3 of them.
Okay, well at that point, why not just purge the division? Like,
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That's more than 50%.
It's just alright. Well, I guess I can't post link to Site 9 on Noobs.
Yep.
Why is Brandon in the audience, not up here?
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to be up here.
Usually he would have told us to shut the fuck up by now, and or deleted the channel. He's probably gonna delete the channel. He's just
No,
gonna
he won't.
delete the channel instead of telling us to shut up.
We need to get up here. Hey. 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 Hey.
Okay.
Hey.
So Josh,
What happened to Chen?
Josh, what do you plan? What do you plan to do with the site?
What?
What do you plan to do with the site?
Didn't I just answer that in like an hour and a half long debate?
No, you were talking like
Yeah. Farlow's trolling.
I wasn't paying attention.
Farlow's
It was a half hour.
I want to
I
watch
wanna-
the recording.
Just give me a TLDR, dude. Just give me a
Give you a
TLDR.
Please,
TLDR?
no, you need to
So I had a question for
redo
you,
the
Josh.
entire debate, please.
Yeah,
the
TLDR,
entire
Alpha
debate.
Warheads are being activated, everybody run.
You didn't insult. You didn't insult Manson.
I didn't insult Manson?
No,
Why would I do that?
It's a debate.
it's a debate. It would make things funner.
Yeah, pull an autumn.
Shut up,
Tearing into
man.
him,
Just
dude.
You're
shut up,
supposed
man.
to, like,
berating him.
and
Pull an
Donald
Autumn to start
You're supposed
berating
to
each
call- You're supposed to call your enemy a rat traitor to the nation, like Joe
He's a
Biden.
communist.
Donald
He's a
Trump.
communist. He works for the CI. Wait, that's
No,
me.
This man that I am facing
Bro,
is a
I think
communist.
Joe, I think you should play the song with the voice changer on.
Thank you, Josh.
Goodbye.
I think you should bang on your fucking microphone.
Alright.
I mean,
Over site PA as soon as you go site director.
Yep, Josh, you got a lot of people here.
I'm aware.
Yep, that's nice.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, how's it going, Josh?
Hey Josh, I had a
hello?
question for you.
Yes.
So when are you quitting your drug addiction?
Never. I'm going to die on this hill.
So
Oh,
I have a suggestion, Josh. I have a suggestion. Okay, remove debate moderators because debates have become so tame that we don't need moderators for them anymore. Because it's usually just, hey, I have this idea. Oh, your idea's so great, but I got a better idea, so let me explain it to you. That is essentially the foundation of debates right now.
But you're British.
That's true. That's true.
Actually, dude.
That's just the way that things have to be.
Baller, aren't you a flaming racist?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
He's changed.
I bet he's banned from my server.
Screenshots say otherwise. Screenshots say otherwise.
Why the fuck is there so many people in the fucking
It's over.
It's over.
Don't worry, it's already over. This is the after debate.
It's the site director debate.
Speaking of which, hey, Forgotten, you buying that game?
Forgotten. Complete Tarkov. Complete
Okay.
Tarkov.
Oh, Tarkov? Anybody here play Tarkov?
Yeah, I go.
Yo,
Yeah,
Pabs.
guys.
Yo, what's up, Pabs?
You play Tarkov?
Yeah, me and Fish and
Yeah.
Overdose play
Yeah,
Tarkov.
yeah. What are you thinking waiting in this fucking 60k queue to get in the
Bro, it's
fucking
fucking
game?
annoying, bro.